I'm Shreyan Sipani. I'm co-founder and CTO at O4S. We are a supply chain visibility company. I hope everyone is doing well. These are testing times, and I do hope that we will come out stronger on the other side. So, starting on how IoT and big data are impacting the supply chain. So, I'll start with a short story on this note. So, in 1989, the president of Interop, so Interop is a internet networking show, challenged the contestant John Romkey that he would reward him with a star billing the next year on Interop if John were to be able to connect a toaster to the internet. Now, this was before even the internet became such a huge phenomena it is today. So in 1989, it was a challenge altogether on a different level. So John took this up and actually was able to connect a toaster to the internet. That became a hit and the Interop 1990. Such an amazing feat, isn't it? So the premise of this story is to tell you that IoT is search on connecting devices to the internet is not a new phenomenon. It has been going for a couple of decades. So why is it now such that it has become such a hype? So it's more of a buzzword. It's a marketing term. So there's no formal definition to IoT, but we can define it as a system for about 34 billion devices that were connected to the internet at the start of this year. That's a pretty big number. Now, we cannot talk to any company about IoT without mentioning another big buzzword, big data. So in human speak, big data is nothing but a huge volume of structured and unstructured data that is collected from a wide variety of sources. It can be sensors, it can be a web searches, it can be a user preferences on a website, it can be even this webinar that we are talking together. All this data that is often terabytes of data that if can be harmonized, normalized, and can be processed can give us very valuable and predictive insights if the trust factor is very high. So big data and IoT are basically key driving factors of the industry today. If you see, IoT is all around us. In your homes, you have voice assistant devices that you interact with. There are drones out there who can do unmanned missions because they can gather a huge amount of environmental data and can process the same. It can be even as simple as your smart refrigerator that is sending you a grocery shopping list while you are at the store. So coming to the how these devices are connected to each other, we're diving a little bit technically. So there are different mechanisms by which we can connect it to a router R that is connected to the internet. I achieve internet connectivity in all these devices. The problem with this is the router R becomes a single high point of failure. If that fails, all your devices lose internet connectivity. So different companies have created mesh networks in which there are protocols by which all of these devices can connect together. They are interconnected. So if E has internet connectivity that A requires, it can access a path from A to B, B to C, or C to connect to E. Now, given a mesh network, there are fail-safe routes that become inherently capable. So if A cannot access the E's internet because B has failed, it can access it through D or another device called as F. So fail-safe routes are available. But the problem with mesh protocols is this is prone to vendor segmentation. So you have different companies having different opinions of how protocols should be made. So if an industry is relying on a particular protocol, going to a different protocol altogether will require a huge amount of investment in resources. Now with the coming of Bluetooth 5, it has the inherent capability of mesh networking. So there's a silver lining there that you have an open standard protocol now that these vendors can build their protocols on Bluetooth 5. So mesh networking is one of the things that you can achieve interconnectedness of devices. Cellular networks are another way. So with the coming of fast cellular networks in bands like 4G and 5G, you can achieve this on a whole another scale. Now, sensors are another way in which you can connect all these devices together. They are sort of flag bearers of the IoT application in the industry. There are a wide variety of source data that you can capture via sensor, and the pricing has gone down year on year significantly. So to give you an example, to give you an idea, In the past decade, every year the sensor cost has reduced 23%. That is a huge reduction in the sensor pricing. So consequently, the manufacturing costs of devices that are connected to the internet have gone down. So sensors are another way by which you can achieve interconnectedness on devices. Now, to understand the implications of IoT on the supply chain industry, prior to IoT becoming a commercial trend, industries were facing a lot of challenges in the supply chain. They were facing challenges on various notes. To start with the basic manufacturing and warehousing challenge, you face put away and pickup challenges there. There's a lack of visibility in the asset tracking. So traditionally, how industries used to approach this problem was they used to deploy RF technology in which you can enable your workers to tag the pickup and put away operations. This will give you some insight on how the goods movement is happening in your manufacturing facility, but there's a lack of information on how resources are being used out there. So this will not give you an information about how what happened between point A and point B. If your resources are being optimally utilized or not. So when you actually embed sensors in your products and you get real-time data and feedback from the products, you can make your labor more accountable on the transactions that they are doing. You can effectively plan better. You will get real-time alerts and feedback on if goods have been shifted, and you can actually make the labor more accountable on the transactions they are performing. It gives the management another benefit that you can now plan your resources depending on the work concentration of the facility. If there's an area that requires more labor, more resources, you can direct your resources over there. So that gives you an additional advantage. Uh, Coming to equipment management is another benefit that you can you can leverage via the IoT devices. So traditionally, what an industry would do to actually maintain the health of their equipment, they would follow a more preventive strategy in which you do routine schedule checks every quarter, every month. This involves a lot of resources, and this scheduled maintenance is based on expected life cycles of an equipment and engineering estimates. The problem is these engineering estimates can be flawed because there's a lot of variance in the equipment life cycle inherently. Now, if you leverage the embedded sensors in your products and you use IoT and the real-time feedback is available, alerting is available, you can opt to more of a predictive maintenance strategy in which you can have a quicker response feedback, emergency response feedback, and you can bring the costs down so that you don't have to do routine checks, quarterly checks, monthly checks. You can have a much more real-time monitoring, and you can address the need as in how it comes up. So you're doing more of a predictive maintenance rather than doing a scheduled maintenance every month or so. The another area in which IoT has been very beneficial is safety. So to give you an example, 100,000 accidents due to forklifts. So there's a lot of automation going on there's a lot of equipment that is being used. Forklifts are one of the equipments that are being used in the facilities today. So there were a lot of accidents happening. Now, to solve this problem, if you are able to get all the data from, so why do these accidents happen? Now, the experience labor that you have in a facility, they would have a know of where the critical and dangerous hotspots are in a facility. Now, the new labor that is coming up, they do not have information and knowledge about these hotspots. They would be prone to these accidents. If you are able to get all this data from your forklift and you're able to analyze, you can actually make heat maps, you can make graphs. So there's another application. So we were talking about safety, ensuring safety at a facility. If you can equip your labor with wearables, you can now track vital health statistics real time. So you can better plan how your resources workload is being managed. You can better plan how the frequency of breaks should be, and you can better plan the nutrition of a labor. If there are labor working in a labor intensive environment, you can better plan the nutrition that is going on for these labor, and you can segregate and optimize the costing also. With all the applications the IoT and big data have, there are a fair bit of challenges that are prone to this industry. Now, if you don't have a robust security infrastructure in place before you are starting to harness this data, all this data can now be exposed to a competitor, which can prove as a risk for the company itself. So it is recommended to have a robust security infrastructure. There has to be some investment from the company to enable before the harnessing of this data. Then you have to, since now you are investing in better automation, more devices are being placed, you are harnessing all this data from a sensor. There are maintenance overhead, which basically cost investments have to be made in replacing these sensors if they become faulty. There are sensors which can become legacy, and you would have to invest in replacing or supporting these new hardware, any requirements that can come up. So this is one area, one challenge that companies might face, which actually prevents them from going forward with IoT, investing in IoT and big data. Now, a very big challenge. So the goal of investing in IoT and big data is achieving resilience. So resilience is basically a company achieving a faster adaptation to the changing work environment, to the changing competing supply chains. If you can leverage IoT and big data to achieve better resilience, then the purpose is solved. So investing in these technologies should not become an obstacle or a challenge to resilience itself. So the goal should not become a problem. So this is a challenge that industries might face when actually investing in these technologies. So thank you all for your time. We can now go for Q&A. If you have any questions, let me know.
If you have any questions, please type it in the Q&A section. So we have got one, Mr. Shreyans, that is on what can be the probable application we can plan to improve supplier chain in manufacturing sector with IIoT and big data? What would be the expected ROI?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, so let's consider a node in the supply chain. So let's talk about the warehouse or a manufacturing facility where asset tracking is a problem. It can be a problem. So asset tracking is basically laborers doing put away and pick up of goods. So earlier, if you would have invested in RF technologies or even QR technologies in which you are tagging these products, and the labor is basically enabled to mark a put away or mark a pickup whenever a transaction is happening. So the problem with this is you are losing information about what a laborer is doing. So if a transaction requires 10 seconds or a minute, and the labor is spending 10 or 15 minutes doing that transaction, you don't know that labor wastage is happening. Skilled labor is very expensive, they are hard to find, and attrition augments this challenge. So if you invest in IoT and if you use these sensors in the products, so if asset tracking can be enabled through IoT and you're getting real-time alerts and feedback about when put away and pickup transactions are happening or whenever a good has been moved, you can have a multitude of benefits from that. Firstly, you can achieve a better resource optimization, because now you will be able to direct these resources to a more work concentrated environment. You would be able to granularly see when the product is being put up and when a product is being dispatched. So all these insights will help you curate a better resource optimization that would give you cost reductions. Secondly, this would even give you more off if your warehouse is being optimized fully. So you might be paying for extra inventory capacity, which you might not even require. So if you can bring down these costs, ultimately these would add up and it would basically affect your top line, because your costs of manufacturing are going down by investing in these technologies.
Big data generation is one part where analysis of data is most important. If you can speak more about data analysis, it would be helpful.
Yeah, so if we are to leverage IoT, we are basically embedding sensors in all the devices and we are getting huge chunks of data. All these sensors are providing a huge amount of data which can be structured or unstructured. Now, the data, so let's take an example of a conveyor belt that is operating. Now, if you have a sensor embedded in the conveyor belt, which is basically providing you real-time monitoring of the conveyor belt, and if you employ big data, so all this data is available of the manufacturing conveyor belt that is running. You can employ models using big data which can predict when the conveyor belt will become faulty. or if the conveyor belt's battery is having a faulty issue or a drainage issue. You might be able to fix these issues beforehand, before it even creeps and stops your production, because that's a costly operation. A costly breakdown will happen if that equipment is not fixed. So a lot of unstructured and structured data can be collected, and you can batch this data, and you can leverage big data tools like Hadoop to actually provide you insights on how you might optimize the existing equipments that you have in your manufacturing facility. But then this requires a hefty investment initially in enabling the facility to have IoT, and then creating a technology infrastructure that actually uses this big data to provide you all these insights. But the investment is really worth it.
Thank you, Mr. Shrens. There's one more. Has your company done any projects on automating the process of supply chain management? Could you please brief about that?
Yeah. So we are working on the asset tracking. So one of the problems we are trying to solve various problems at the supply chain. Manufacturing is one of the areas that we have built solutions for. So asset tracking, as I just mentioned earlier, the operations of pick away and put up. We have an entire application, FMS. So it's a facility management system, which gives you real-time insights into how these operations are being performed, how these transactions are happening, so that you can better get an idea about your inventory aging. You can actually enforce your labor to dispatch goods that are only that is on a FIFO model. So whatever goods have been made first should be dispatched first, because that is very important from a FMCG industry standpoint. Since these goods are perishable, you want to dispatch the batches that were made earlier rather than the batches that are made today, because get to market times will actually expire those products that were made earlier. So we are working with companies to have a better asset tracking system in which they can have a better put away and pick up mechanism, so that they know where goods are in their manufacturing facility. Imagine you have a 700,000 square feet facility and you don't know where a batch of a certain SKU is. So if you are using FMS and if you are leveraging IoT, you might be able to instantly say that it is lying in the row this and it is at that pellet. So you can optimize that resource and you are able to dispatch that good first rather than dispatching any present made goods. So that is one application that we are working on.
There's one more. Does real-time monitoring increase the cost of service provided?
So it does increase the cost in the sense that you have to invest in the devices that have this enabled. So if I am putting a conveyor belt, or if I am actually having verification scanners or rejection scanners, I have to invest in devices which have that inherent capability of having a sensor which can provide all this data. So there's a capex investment at front, but it pays off in the long term, because when you actually go down to the PNL of it, this is a one-time investment, and if you're able to optimize, that is a recurring benefit that you have. So recurring benefits are anyways more beneficial for you in the long run. So one-time investment would only affect your PNL for a financial year, but if you have a recurring cost optimization, that would increase your top line and reduce your manufacturing cost, that will give you benefits over the long run, like 15 years, 10 years. So it's an initial investment, yes, but then the benefits of the long term are being paid off very beautifully.
Thank you, Mr. Shrens. And there's one more which has come up. What is the usual ROI period in large-scale IoT-based supply chain applications? Can you please give a couple of examples?
Yeah. So the industries that we have worked with, so generally we start with a pilot in which the companies want to first get all the value-based insights. They want to see what is happening. So we would start with a pilot with a manufacturing line. So generally, when you start getting this data, so this all this data that is captured will give you a predictive insight probably 1 or 2 months down the line. So as you start getting these insights and all this data is obtained, you start working on these issues. You can prioritize these issues that you're manufacturing, because some actually involve capex requirement from a company, capex investment from a company. So if there's a prediction that your manufacturing conveyor belt is getting faulty, you need to change the conveyor belt. So you need to act on it. So you need to prioritize all the changes you have to make. And this this data is generated real time. So over the time period, you start getting this data, and it will start getting better and better, because this is a self-feeding mechanism. All the data that you collect, it will get better over time. So this is also relevant to the concept of machine learning. You make the machine learn better and better by providing it more data. So as more data is obtained from the sensors, from the batteries, from the equipment around the facility, like forklifts, like other automation equipments that you have, it will keep getting in better and better, so that you are able to achieve a very smart facility. So the ROI can be expected anywhere between 3 or 4 months, depending on how much investment you do in the start of the project. But yeah, so that's a typical timeline. So by investing in the project, you might start getting the ROI in the first month or second month. So anyways, if you have any questions, you can directly email it to me, if that's fine, Ankita.
Sure, Shreyans, this would work as well. I don't see any more coming up. There's an attendee who's how a fresher should start.
Okay. So you can start by understanding some of the technologies that IoT uses inherently. So I didn't go much deeper into the technical aspects. You can start understanding what a mesh network is, how you can create a mesh network, how is it different from a router-based framework that you have, what is the benefit, what are the disadvantages, why would you prefer a sensor-based mechanism over a mesh-based mechanism. So you can start to understand these concepts, and you would start to get an idea of how IoT can impact going forward. So if you have the concepts clear, you might be able to build on a better course on how you would go about learning other technologies that you can use to build IoT based applications. First, just understand the concepts, and then start understanding the different technologies involved. That can include frameworks, that can include applications, and just study a few case studies, and you'll get an idea of what the overall bigger impact might be and how you might be able to contribute. You might be able to get interested in a few domains, and you can start from there.
There's one more which has come up. What kind of distributors play a significant role in IoT?
So distributor is a node in the supply chain, which is basically connected to the retailers. So a company manufacturing products relies on the distributors network of all the retailers to create a distribution in the market. So it is a very similar which you have a manufacturing facility. If a company has over 30 manufacturing facilities, a distributor might have a warehouse where all the goods are being kept, and they are dispatched as per the retailer demand start coming in. So all the benefits that a company can get from a manufacturing facility by using IoT, the same can be achieved by a distributor also. They can start optimizing their warehouse. They can lower the costs of actually keeping the goods. They would only keep goods which the which requirement is for. They can cost optimize the labor. Every benefit that is available for a facility is available to the distributors. So if that answers your question.
Can you suggest any certification required for career in IoT?
There are a lot of websites. There are websites like Coursera, Udemy. Coursera has running courses. So since IoT has gained so much traction, even the universities are pushing courses. So you can find on Coursera if a course is running. They basically map the courses that are running in a university. You can sign up for a course, follow along. It takes about 6 or 8 weeks to actually complete the course. You have assignments, you will build a framework, you will build some application on IoT, and then you will get a certification from Coursera itself. The certification will be from the university that's running the course, and it's very valuable in the industry because that gives the visibility that you have actually completed the course and you have knowledge of IoT and blockchain. So you might opt for a course from Coursera or Udemy or the like.
Thank you, Shreyans. And last question, a student from MBA, what kind of project could be given to an MBA student in digital supply chain? Like based on the scope or what is the trend today? Can you please answer that?
Yeah. So technically there's a lot of work to be done. IoT, machine learning, big data, all these provides a lot of kind of data, but it will only help the company if it can derive meaningful and valuable insights. So all this data is meaningless to me if I cannot derive any predictions or any insights. Now these business insights are what MBA students can focus on. Using all this data, if you can drive meaningful insights for a company, so if you can calculate inventory aging for a company, if you can calculate cost optimizations for a company on the basis of this data, then you can actually build many more models. So as an MBA student, as a student focused on the management and the business aspect of it, is you can use all this data to then find out insights and make predictions for a company, that there are different graphs, there are different heat maps that can be generated, and a company can use all this information to actually better their facilities and reduce their costs over a long term. There are technical integrations. Their technology is to be used by these companies, but there are a lot of insights and business predictions to be made. And this will require a person. This will require people who have worked on the business and the management aspect of the. They have an understanding on the inherent business impact, and that can help. So as an MBA student, you can focus on the data driving and making predictions on the basis of this data. You can focus on those points.
Any insight on blockchain? Why is it not adopted as much as it was hyped for supply chain management?
Yeah. So blockchain is a distributed ledger. It is another form of a database. So companies use private databases to keep all their data safe and secure. These are generally running on cloud, and they are very, very secure, very highly secure. Blockchain is a distributed ledger in which you cannot modify the transaction. So if a transaction has been committed between a distributor and a retailer, and it's a contract that has been made, it cannot be modified. So it is very efficient in that terms, that there's a visibility in the whole chain, in the whole network. There's a visibility that this transaction has occurred, and this cannot be modified because no malicious entity can go and change this transaction. So it is very useful from a visibility standpoint and an efficiency standpoint. The only place it lacks is companies don't want to invest in a public blockchain right now, because they do not want to expose all this data to any other people in the supply chain where they are not directly interfacing with. So blockchain gives that. There are private blockchains by IBM. There's a Hyperledger. There's a Ethereum platform which companies can use, but these are not mature enough that the companies can start using. They are already using private databases to store all this data, and it is providing quite a lot of visibility. But blockchain is really useful in creating these smart contracts, and you will see these use cases coming up. So it's a lot concentrated in the enterprise and social markets right now, but more and more companies will then understand the need for having a much more visibility and transparency in the supply chain, and blockchain will gain traction. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Shreyans. And one more, what kind of impacts, or can you share a few success stories of O4S, which is it has had on different clients?
Yeah. So this would require me to give an insight about O4S. So O4S basically specializes in providing every product a unique identity, so it can be tracked through the supply chain. This unique identity can be in the form of a RFID, it can be in the form of a QR code or whatever. Now the mechanism in which these identities are provided, we are using IoT devices at the manufacturing facility. Now there's a lot of projects going on the manufacturing facility of a company, and there are projects going on where you as a consumer can verify the authenticity of the product they are buying by verifying this QR code or RFID or whatever the mechanism might be. So you can know if the product you have bought is an original product or a fake product or a duplicate product. Now earlier what used to happen, there were malicious entities in the supply chain because of which counterfeit goods were being infiltrated. Companies have a better control as they are now able to see the product movement through the supply chains. Companies roll trade promotions over this digital identity, which the retailers can use to participate in the trade promotion schemes. So they get a lot of data. Retailer data is now accessible to these companies. They can control the product movement in the market and roll out trade promotions more efficiently. So let's suppose if I made a prediction that my sales will go up 10% this quarter because I'm rolling this trade promotion out. Earlier, if due to malicious entities, retailers were not getting, actual sellers were not getting the benefit of a trade promotion, that my estimate would not be met. But if I can roll out trade promotions effectively using this UID, I can now guarantee that it will increase 10%. So I can make much more reliable and better prediction. So the impact of O4S is all across these nodes. So at the manufacturing, we are trying to optimize these processes. At the retailer level, we are getting all this data and we are providing this data to the companies so that they can achieve better, lower get to market times. As a consumer, you have the benefit of verifying a product's authenticity. You can visit our website to check all the companies that we are working with, and we are primarily focused on the FMCG and pharma domain as of now because there's a lot of risk areas, and in these times essential products are much more prevalent than other products. So you can view our case studies and you can actually see the impact we are having by working with these companies.
Thank you, Mr. Shreyans. And yeah, one more. We'll take this as the last one. To what scale IoT applications is grown in Indian industry, or is it more in USA, Europe right now? How do you predict the growth of IoT in India?
Sure. So in IoT US, and so if you understand the US market, US is a more modern retail market in which you have all the Walmarts and Best Buys, which are heavily using these IoT technologies to optimize their facilities and have a better resource optimization. India is not at that scale yet, where we are so much focused on modern retail. It's still a very Kirana store format in India right now. So 90% of the products being sold by companies are going on through Kirana stores or offline mechanisms. And online modern retail only contributes to about 10%. India is growing in that respect that we are starting to work more on automation. Industries are actually focused a lot more on automation of their supply chains because there's a competition that is happening across the world. So globalization has reduced boundaries, that has eliminated boundaries. So India can even produce goods that can go to US. And if we can produce these goods at a faster rate than what US can or China can, maybe we can win over the globalization and we can have much more impact on a world as a whole. So we are investing much more on these technologies today. So as I mentioned, in the world, there were about 34 billion devices that were connected to internet at the start of this year. India is lower on that scale. India is about a contribution of 5 or 10% in the entire scenario. So that's quite a low number. But projects are kicking off. If you can see, the companies are more investing in these technologies to compete with the supply chains of the world. So US is much more ahead of us, but India is picking up pace. India is trying to optimize its supply chain, and industries are working much more on it. So there are pilots going on. We are working with many companies on IoT and blockchain technologies, and you will see much more pace in the industry going forward.